Welcome back to more science in anime, where I'm taking a look at the quantum mechanics that is discussed in Bunny Girl Senpai. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about quantum entanglement. And this is probably going to be a short video. Quick disclaimer, I am not an expert in this field, so trust an expert over anything that I have to say on this topic. I'm naturally I'm going to try the best that I can to get everything right, but it might be that the best that I can do is just not good enough. That is so sad. Let's start with the science. So I'm going to start with superpositions, but I've already made a video talking about it, so I'm not going to rehash everything. If you really want to review that, I'll leave the link in the description and the card just so you can go back and see it. But I'm going to do a real quick review just to kind of set the stage. I'm going to use the example that I used the other day. So if we have a video of a runner and we know the runner went around the track at least once. So if we're asking where is the runner, looking at the overall video, they're technically at every point around the track. So this would be a superposition basically. And if we decide to play the video and pause it at a specific time, we would have a definite answer of this is where they are at this time. And that would be taking the superposition and collapsing it down to one point because we took a measurement. Probably a little oversimplified, but it's fine for now. So let's go ahead and add in another video with another runner. And we'll make both of these videos entangled. So what that means is that these videos are now connected in a way that knowing something about one video will actually tell you something about the other. So wherever one runner is, the other runner is on the opposite side of the track. So at the beginning, both runners are in a superposition of being around the track. So whenever we stop one video to see where one runner is, we would then instantly know where the other runner is because they would be on the opposite side. The really odd thing about this is that it doesn't matter where the videos are. So you could be playing both of these videos on the same computer, on two different monitors in the same room, or you could be on one side of the planet and someone be on the other side of the planet, or you could be on one planet and someone else could be on another planet in an entirely different galaxy, and it would still work perfectly fine. So a lot of scientists didn't like this idea, Einstein included, because it seemed to suggest that information was being transferred faster than the speed of light. And what they propose is that maybe the information is not being transferred, but it's more, it's hard set, basically. At the time of entanglement, both particles know what their answer is going to be once their superposition collapses. This would mean that the answer is set at the beginning and has nothing to really do with the other particle. So there's been some experiments since this idea was put out there that show that this is not really how it works. And now, unfortunately, I've got to go back to my example. My example shows exactly what you would think if the answers were hard set. If you take a measurement at 10 seconds, you're going to get an answer for both. And if you rerun the experiment, you have to redo the superposition and stop again at 20 seconds, you'll get a different answer. But then if you go back and run it again for 10 seconds, you're going to get the same answer you got before for 10 seconds because the answers are essentially hard coded in to the video. But unfortunately, that's not exactly how it works. Look, it's my example. I came up with it. I understand it's not perfect. Okay, shut up. So we can rerun the experiment and say stop the clock at like 10 seconds to see where the runner is. And then reset, try 20 seconds and see where the runner is. Reset, try 10 seconds again. And if we keep repeating that, what we find is that at the like 10-second mark, the runner isn't always in the exact same spot. It's a probability of where they are going to be. What this shows is that the answer for the measurements aren't engraved in the entangled particle at all. It's each of the particles are dependent on each other, basically. And I don't think we have definite answers on why any of this does what it does. But it also could just be my ignorance, I guess. There is one more example that I want to go through that I think will help explain this. We'll see. So let's say we have a sine wave, or a cosine wave if you're really feeling crazy. Let's say we have a point that travels along the wave here, and if it is above the middle line, it is positive. If it is below the middle line, then it is negative. So if you want to know whether the point is positive or negative, you can't just look at the wave. You have to basically make the point touch the middle line. So you have to squish the wave, basically. And once you do that, once the point touches the middle line, if it touches the top of the middle line, it's positive. If it touches the bottom of the line, then it is negative, and then you will have your answer. So we'll go ahead and throw in another point here, and we'll say that these 2 points are entangled, so that anytime one point is at the top of the mountain, the other point is at the very bottom of the valley. Same thing as before. If you want to know whether A is positive or negative, you have to squish the wave so that the A point touches the middle line. But in doing so, you are also messing with the B point since it is also traveling along the same wave. So if the A touches the top of the line and shows that it's positive, the B will necessarily touch the bottom and be negative. Essentially, if you are wanting the answer for one, you have to mess with the pathway that both are traveling on. And that's pretty much the gist of the science. So let's bring in some anime. Now, the first time that quantum entanglement comes up in the show, it is said to be a strange phenomenon where two particles in separate places don't need any intermediation to instantly share information and move. Which I could probably sit down and pick it apart and try to find a lot of issues with it. But my biggest issue is that it seems to be incomplete, I guess. What we see from actual quantum mechanics is that if we have information about one particle, we also have information about the other particle. But that's not really what we see in the show. The main character is said to be entangled with a girl from his school. And if I'm going to relate this back to quantum mechanics, what information about him says anything about her, or vice versa? It kind of seems like they weren't going with that idea. They were going more with the definition that they gave, which is that information can be shared between them instantly, basically. But the only information that was shared between them is the fact that they were reliving the same day over and over. And to me, that kind of comes off like the creator saw the word entangled and thought, oh, that means they have a connection, and just ran with that idea. I can't completely say that they failed, though. I mean, sharing information was part of the idea at one point, and it hasn't been completely ruled out, but it just doesn't seem to work in the exact same way that they are portraying it in the show. Funnily enough, in the previous videos, the more that I thought about the ideas, the more plausible connection there was between the science and the ideas in the show. But the more I thought about this, quantum entanglement and the show, the less connection I saw. Which I honestly don't think is all that terrible. This is one of the ideas that's not used as a main point for the phenomenon that's happening in the show. It's kind of more of a jumping off point or a loose connection, basically. When it first comes up in the show, Laplace's demon is the issue, but the main character asks why he is also experiencing the same thing that the girl is experiencing, and it's just explained that oh, they must be entangled, and they're just kind of hey, explanation given, move on with your life. So as far as the anime goes, it's not really that big a deal, but science-wise, I don't think they did a very good job of connecting the actual science to the ideas of the show. But whatever. That's really all I want to say. See ya. There's no rant this time. Literally, there's just not enough to say about this. Everything I had to say was already said in the video, so I have nothing to say. But I had to make a video to pretend that I was going to rant about something, so I had something to put at the end. This does absolutely nothing.